I think we're good. I've been having a lot of problems getting my streaming software to work lately. But welcome, guys. I think we're up and running now. Hopefully you can hear me and we're all set. But yeah, Android 17. Oh my gosh, this light, of course, every single time. Well, first of all, welcome if it's your first time here. I'm Follygon. We've been spending the past week, maybe week and a half now, sculpting Android 17 from Dragon Ball Z off of a concept from GopGap. And you can find more of GopGap's work over on artstation.com or Instagram. But yeah, he's been a lot of fun. Recently added some color just yesterday, I believe. And now we've started to get into some more secondary forms, stuff with like some quick little folds in the jeans. I want to do some of that in the shirt today. I also want to do quite a bit of work to the hair. Because right now, his hair is a total mess as I continue to figure out what I'm going to do with it. Just a lot up here that's going on that's not really incredibly possible in 3D. So I'll have to play around with it more until I find something that I like, but that might be something that we focus on today as well. And yeah, let's just go ahead and dive in, probably on the pants a little bit, and then work our way up to the shirt, getting some of these folds to interact around this satchel fanny pack. I'll call it a fanny pack. A little bit better. So let's get in here. Oh, my arm. Well, not my arm. My Cintiq arm. Stay. Alright. So, last night, I was streaming on the Pixelogic ZBrush channel, if you weren't around for that. One of the main things that we started doing was getting in here and adding some secondary forms in the pants. And welcome, guys. Welcome, Louis Denise. I'm probably butchering that. It's kind of hard to see. Louis Denise, sure, let's go with that. Welcome, and Pelmy, welcome back. How are you guys doing? What was I saying? Something about the pants. We started doing some of these secondary folds, secondary forms around the jeans. One of the things that I would like to do as well, since we're kind of focusing in this area already, is clean up some of these forms a little bit more, and then look at what we can do to create the seam line that runs down the middle of the jeans. Maybe some of that additional kind of tertiary form in some of those areas. We'll see how far we get here. Another thing that I want to do is start getting here around the bottom of his shirt and start messing with some of the secondary forms and folds. So we're looking at stuff like pushing up in certain areas to get this to interact with some of this a little bit better. Make it feel like it's a little bit more integrated. To do that, let's actually hide our hands since they're just kind of in the way here. And just really focus in on these particular areas. And because this is black, it's really hard to see what's going on in the concept. So sometimes it's nice to do a little bit of a draw over for some of this stuff. It looks like just kind of a general pull over, more side on the left, more so showing the full back corner of the satchel on the left, but it looks like it comes in front of it a little bit on the far right side. So that's something we want to keep in mind. And then just a few other hits here in the general shape. A little bit of a zigzag there. You can see his belt that he's wearing underneath here and a slight like hint of a belt buckle. And then you can see that we have this secondary belt that's kind of just holding on this satchel, and this belt kind of defies physics quite a bit. I was talking about this last night. So I think I'm just going to sculpt it the way it looks, and, you know, screw physics, right? Screw gravity. That doesn't matter. I said it right! Well, that is maybe one of the first times that I've pronounced someone's name correctly. Most of the time I butcher it even more so than I would do unintentionally, just so I feel like I'm doing it on purpose. Alright, so we wanted to pull out a little bit around our satchel and possibly come in here and thin out the satchel here just in general a little bit. Feels like mine might be a little thick compared to what I'm seeing in the concept. And that's really not all that hard to do. So let's look at just getting a quick little skew in. Some skewing to skew in. I would also like to maybe get some wrap here on this shape. So let's look at just getting a little bit of bend around the waist there. And then maybe grab this inner edge loop and get a little bit of pull out there. Let's do the same thing over here real quick. A little bit of wrap. Just enough. Let's make sure that this is, interacting here properly with the pants and the belt. You don't want anything interpenetrating. Mask that off. And I'm just using a really big move brush right now to push some stuff around really quick. And we'll probably flatten this a little bit more on the bottom, make that a little bit more accurate to the concept. And then as for that quick little button, or snap, whatever you want to call it, I'll just push that back into the surface there. And I think that'll be good for now. So just some quick little proportional adjustments. Let's turn our shirt back on. And start playing with this interaction a little bit more. Oh, and I apologize for, there's probably going to be a little bit more background noise than usual today. There are people doing construction on the house next door, on the roof, and I'm surrounded by dogs, and with all the loud banging around and stuff, the dogs are probably going to be even a little bit more crazy than they typically are, which is, they're typically pretty loud on average. Probably a little bit more today, though. About your stream yesterday, you were talking about tapered shapes. I was talking about tapered shapes. And sorry, I have something in my eye. I guess that's how you spell it. Taper shapes. Tapered shapes. Could you explain a little bit more about what those are? English is not my main language, so I don't even know what taper really means. No problem. The basic idea, it's one of those core fundamentals that we focus on for character design. One of many. But let me grab a really simple cube. Okay? And we'll turn off perspective. So, for a shape to taper, well, this is right now currently the opposite of taper. Right now we have what are just considered parallel lines. Parallel lines are just two lines of an object, or just two lines in general that are running right in the exact same direction, and therefore those lines will never meet, however far they travel. These two lines would never meet. So instead, if we wanted to taper this shape a little bit, one thing that we could do would be to just pull in on the sides here. And now we have what's called just a little bit of a taper, down. We're going from a thicker area to a more narrow area. So now these lines are no longer parallel, and these lines would eventually, meet if they continued on. So now we have a tapered shape. In character design, in general, it's typically a good idea to avoid parallel lines. It's a lot more interesting to have shapes that taper. If we look at a lot of stuff going on in these character designs, you'll notice in the arms and in the legs and in the torso, if we go back to our full character here, you know, we don't have on the shirt, we don't have this big, boxy, boring, parallel shape, right? We have this tapered shape that goes down this direction, right? We got some taper going this way, and then it tapers back out. We got some more interest happening there. So that's what I'm talking about when I say tapered shapes. But in 3D, it's not, you know, quite as easy to make a tapered shape because you have to make it visually interesting from multiple different directions. You have to make it interesting from, you know, every possible viewpoint. So finding a way to make a shape more visually interesting isn't always easy, but, you know, you can add some visual interest through a number of means, and just kind of playing around with some shapes. But yeah, it's nothing too crazy. Understanding how to actually apply this to a character is a little bit more difficult, I would say. Just for like application in general, what I would recommend doing is looking at some character designs that you really like and maybe try to pick out some of those areas that have a lot of these tapered shapes. You'll see that this is also apparent in just pretty much everything here. You know, a lot of tapered shapes in the sleeve, definitely in the forearm, in the legs. I mean, there's a lot of these, and this is just, you know, one of those concepts that I mentioned. Another one that I mentioned was straights versus curves, and thinking about, you know, your character's silhouette, thinking about large, medium, and small shapes. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that we could go into here. Radity, what's going on? Can I have your UI? I have been asked, I swear to God, I've been asked 5 times in the past 24 hours. Maybe 6. That might be the 6th one. So I think I'm going to have to just upload my UI to my Gumroad. On my Gumroad, where is it? Here it is. My UI is available in my Quick Start ZBrush Beginners course. It's a little over 2 hours of footage. It includes my brushes, my materials, my UI, some base meshes, all sorts of other stuff, project-based homework, and my UI, of course. That's the only place you can get my UI right now. I don't know why everybody wants my UI so bad, but I will make a note right now, if I can find my pen, my real pen, not my Cintiq pen, and I will upload it. I will upload it on my Gumroad. But to do that, I will probably have to include some more information about some of my hotkeys and stuff. By default, you probably wouldn't know how to pull up stuff like my quick menu and everything. No problem, Louie. Glad I could help out. You guys have convinced me. I will upload my UI. This is actually how pretty much everything that I upload works. If you just ask me enough, eventually I'll do it. Alright. So I'm pulling out, and we're getting into asymmetry a little bit here, which is fine. Totally fine. I'm gonna actually turn off that color. A little bit hard to see. But we're getting a little too thick, I think. Up through here. So let's move this in. And I was trying to set up a nice kind of cleaned, creased edge through some of this. Let's see. Maybe do some subtractive stuff there to adjust some of that form. To make it feel like it's interacting a little bit more cleanly, I guess would be the word, with our satchel. Let's see. Thanks a lot. Your UI is so cool and easy to use. Well, how do you know? You've never used it. It's really not too different from the standard UI. I just have a butt ton of stuff down here. Actually, most of this won't even load unless you own my brushes as well. And then I have this quick pop-up menu that appears wherever I press the hotkey for, which I'm holding a mug, so I can't do this guy. Just has some most used stuff. So how would that work? I think if you didn't have these brushes, I guess it would just be blank down there. I actually don't know. It might load in some kind of weird icon placeholder. I'm not positive. I'll have to try that out. Yes, everything is on screen. That is the point. So I don't have to dig through menus all day. It saves a ton of time. It really does. It might save like a few seconds once, but when I have to dig through menus, you know, 1,000 times a day, no exaggeration, it gets old quick. Alright, let's try to get a little bit more visual interest here. Some of these shapes. I'm just kind of doing some hard push and pulls. A little zigzaggy right now, but we'll clean this up. Man, these sleeves are really tight. With my big, giant, super muscular arms. If I actually had any muscle, I don't think this sweatshirt would fit me. Alright, it's a little tough to see what's going on here, so let's zoom in. So, the read on this that I'm getting definitely kind of tucked into the jeans, flowing up and back under, and then we have like this, obviously this like billowing out shape here. The hard cut that I put here, this transition, is probably a little bit too strong. I think I mainly indicated this kind of transitional area here for the silhouette read, but it probably needs to kind of like fade out as we wrap in towards the front and be a little bit more of a uniform turn in the surface. Have a little bit of a nicer curve here instead of just a 1-2. I do want that more so in the back though, I think. That nice kind of crease there. So let's see. A little bit of softening here and there. This is where it gets a little weird as I try to figure out what I'm going to do with this kind of bottom edge here. And it'll probably be a little bit of a softening of this sharp edge that we've built up. Start to bevel that out over time. I might let's play around here a little bit more. He definitely has like a belt around his pants. We don't necessarily need that to be seen super well. But I do want this to interact a little bit nicer. So here's a little trick that we might be able to do. So I'm going to take this shirt, have it be one solid piece, and then I'm going to duplicate my belt, I'm going to duplicate my pants. And I'm going to duplicate my satchel thing, my fanny pack. Alright, so we got all of that. And then I'm going to Dynamesh all this together. Without crashing ZBrush. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's low res, it's really not that big of a deal, it shouldn't matter. And then I'm going to put it on Subtractive, and I am very quickly going to sample this color because I like that color. And I'm going to subtract that from the bottom of this shirt here. So I merged down with one of those objects set to negative. So now when I Dynamesh this, it will subtract out this bottom geometry from the top. It will Boolean the geometry out. This is the old way that we had to Boolean stuff before we had live Boolean. It's still very effective. I still use it all the time. It's really good for quick stuff like this. I still really like it. We have some weird little artifacts here that I'm going to remove, but other than that, this should be good. Cook and Milk, how you doing? Welcome back. So now with that awkward, little subtraction that I've done, I can kind of smooth out some of these places where we were getting those weird interactions, right? And start to make it feel like the cloth is folding around that a little bit better. And this will take some time to actually adjust the shape, but this is a good way to get headed in that direction. Not sure actually what happened back here, but that's okay. Got a few little weird areas, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. I'm thinking we want to now get back to a place where we have a little bit more clean topology. We can start working with these to round out some of these hard edges. Let's just get in here and trim up some stuff a little bit though. Start turning this edge. So eventually this will look like it's billowing out and then maybe tucking back into the pants a little bit. In this other area, I think I'm just going to delete this. Same here. I'm going to blend that out. And continue to work this form. So this is all for the process of getting this to feel like it's interacting with some of these shapes a little bit more. Just to make a little bit more sense. So it doesn't look like it's blending into itself and have... You want to avoid all these areas where you get geometry that's just interpenetrating itself. That feels really awkward, it doesn't look good, and it's not how things work in real life. So just taking some time to clean up those areas. This is one of the kind of a similar thing to what we did up around the neck hole of the shirt. We ended up giving him a little, like, tiny shoulder area. It's pretty much all that would ever be seen, but just in case you can kind of see down in that area, now there's something to kind of make it look like the neck isn't just going straight into the shirt, which felt pretty funny before. So I'm going to remesh this, and this time we're going to do so without Symmetry on. So I will up the resolution a little bit and try this out, see what happens. Zremesher has some trouble with some of these like tight cornered areas, so I might have to do a little bit more smoothing down here. We'll see how it does. But we really just want something that's a little bit more manageable in terms of resolution. Something that we can project back up and then continue shaping up some of these secondary forms, creating these folds down here. So this feels pretty good so far, and I think that'll work great. And already, you know, it doesn't even look like I need to project much. It's retaining a lot of that form pretty well. I will still project though, just so I can make sure that I'm getting the correct volume here. Whenever you Zremesh something, shrinks it in a little bit, and we lose some of the tightness in some of these areas as well. Let's make sure we get that back. And then from there, we can just go through on this lower resolution geometry, and I like to use the normal smooth operation, letting go of shift while you're smoothing. For really tight areas, it helps to kind of average that out. And slowly but surely, we are getting some nicer shapes around here. Let's turn our arms back off. I think I'm going to make a group here for that. So I should be able to do it with just one click. Nice. Let's see. Maybe a little bit more volume here. And that's already feeling a lot better to me. And it really wasn't too much work. I'm just subtracting a few pieces, using some smooth, a couple other like trim brushes and stuff like that. Let's see, for the back of the shirt here, let's just make sure our silhouette's still reading properly. I feel like we could start to get into secondary shapes here in the shirt, kind of like what we started in the jeans slash crotchal region. It is black though, so it's a little tough to see where some of these folds are taking place. It looks like maybe there's not even all that much going on here. I think we could essentially just kind of denormalize the surface a little bit. It looks like maybe there's a few lines in here that I could read as folds. but I think they would be pretty subtle, and we can maybe look at that a little bit here. Kind of want to crop this, so I'm just looking at the shirt here. No polygrouping this time? No, it's not really necessary. It's still retaining the form pretty well. Just a few rough strokes here and there. Get something started. Now, last night, if you saw me start sculpting some of these folds down here, what we started doing was using our Sharp Soft Edge brush. It's kind of like a damn standard brush, but a little bit more soft, right? Now I'm just using the clay tubes brush a little bit, trying to get some of these volumes that I'm noticing. Nothing special, just kind of flowing with the shape. Trying not to add too much volume in most of these places, but a little bit won't hurt. And keeping it nice and messy. And then most of this will go away. Almost all of it. But just to start getting some of this additional form, it's really good for doing some quick few strokes in the surface, starting to figure out some of these folds a little bit. Don't have to be incredibly precise here, because most of it's just getting smoothed out anyway. Get an idea of the direction we're heading. And we can clean these up as much as we want, hit them with some pinch. You know, there's a lot of different things that we can do here. But anything to just add some asymmetry to this right now is feeling a lot better. Let's see. Because it's kind of a baggy shirt, right? But you notice that with some of these, you know, simple little folds that I'm adding here in this sleeve, I'm not really losing too much of that main shape. I'm still trying to retain a lot of that. So that's kind of one thing that I see a lot with people that are a little bit newer. I think the main issue with kind of going into the stage is that people rush into it a little bit too fast, but when you start thinking about things as large, medium, and then small shapes, you know, stuff like little folds and textures, stuff like that, you try to retain those as you go down that chain of the process. So when you're starting off and you're creating the block out, you want to think about large, right, big shapes. And then once you start moving on to a little bit smaller, medium shapes, you still want to retain those large shapes, but start adding this additional form on top of what you already have. That's not an easy thing to do either. Talking about it's easy, but in practice it's a lot more difficult. And it takes exactly that, practice. Oops. And these are ending up pretty subtle in general, but you know, you have to start somewhere. And I don't want to just get these super strong folds, especially when I'm not seeing incredibly strong shapes in the concept. And we're starting to get away from that really simple blocked out shirt that we had before that was very geometric. Starting to feel a little bit more organic as we keep going here. Probably get away from these super tight kind of shoulder transitions and soften that a little bit until we get to a point where we actually create the seam line for the shirt. It actually is a pretty sharp line. Maybe that's not a great idea. I'll hold on to that for a little bit longer. I'm not going to do seams on the shirt probably for a while. I don't know, maybe that's something we can look at. I was playing around with showing you guys some live Boolean stuff for seams yesterday, so maybe that's something we can look at again today. And actually how we would do that for an area like the sleeve, right around here. Alright, let's see how this shirt is shaping up. Just check out our distance read. Make sure that our silhouette is still holding up, which it seems to be. And then down here, it's really hard to, you know, interpret a lot of form from this just because it is so dark. But I'm seeing some lighter, you know, and darker areas still, so I'm trying to infer what I can and just go off of what I know about sculpting these kinds of forms in general. And I do want to soften the edge that we have down here. I do like the kind of transition that we get at this point, but it can be softened quite a bit. I blocked that out really hard at first just because it helps figure out where that's going to transition, and I'm seeing a little bit of that kind of, you know, somewhat rounded edge there. Just taking some time to smooth that out, play around with maybe beveling a little bit. I'll play with it here. Being careful not to completely destroy the form that we worked so hard to sculpt though. Maybe change the way that edge turns through some of this area. This is one of those instances of edge quality, you know, coming through and making sure that edges aren't the same level of, you know, tightness. Control your edges, your lines a little bit more. So having this form kind of transition into a flat over here over time is really nice. It's a lot of stuff that I try to accomplish in my faces, and I try to incorporate that into as many places as I can. It's happening a little bit here as well, which is nice. like we could maybe simplify some of this. Shaping up, but you know, one kind of pass here at a time. Sometimes I'll go through and make really strong strokes and then knock it back from there on stuff like this. I feel like that would kind of be a bad idea for this sculpt, just because what I'm seeing here, these forms are pretty subtle. They're not really all that strong for the material and how kind of loose that is. Doesn't feel like we need these super strong folds. I'm just trying to keep that material in mind for what this would look like. It almost feels like a sweater or a sweatshirt or something. Some kind of thicker cloth. The edge that I have back here is really, really stiff, going across the shoulders. So I'd like to look at softening that up just a tad. Let's see. Don't want that poking through, do we? Let's start, you know, ever so slightly breaking up this form. I think some of that's getting a little overdone back here. You can even use some of your pinch brush to tighten up some of these forms, which I enjoy using a lot. Oh, excuse me. Yes, please. Yes, please. What are we saying yes, please to, Kukin? Bazooka Plasma. Beautiful username. What's going on? Welcome to the stream. So I'm just trying to pick out some of these larger form transitions that I'm noticing and just highlight them a little bit with my pinch brush. And then, you know, probably knock a lot of this back too, because I'm not really seeing too much of this kind of stuff here. I'm just kind of picking and choosing. Nothing too extreme here though. Like back here, I don't think that's really incredibly necessary. And I would say that some of these shadows are a little bit too strong. Live bullying the seams. Ah, yes. Yeah, that's always fun. I enjoy doing that. How's our bottom edge looking? Need to do kind of a look-see on that. Like I said, probably just like a little bit too strong in some areas, but let's see. Our original material and color there, with it being so dark, you know, a lot of that isn't going to come through. So that's another thing to kind of think about. Another layer. Oops. So there's some of that asymmetry started on that shirt. And I'm sure after we, you know, get into posing, we can do a lot more with this. We can push this really far, I think. But we'll probably wait till we get more into posing. I think that's interacting so much more cleanly, so much nicer with the pouch here. With the belt as well. I would maybe, you know, make this curve a little bit more simple. Maybe something like that. And maybe give like a really tiny quick belt buckle for in there, since that's supposed to be a belt as well. Double belt. What's up, Katie? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you? How's the Twitch affiliate coming along? Last time we spoke, I think you were talking about that's what you were striving for next. I don't know if you've started on that yet. I haven't seen you post about it. So I'm gonna guess maybe. And oh god. Arium, I think, maybe. I might be saying that wrong. Welcome to the stream. Really quick, before we do anything else, let's do a quick look-see down here on our pantaloons. 6 followers off. Awesome. That is so cool. Well, congratulations. You're very, very close. I bet you'll get it on your next stream. You should post in the ZBrush Discord next time you stream, or your stream schedule if you have one. I would love to come and check it out. See what you're working on. Arium like aquarium. Ooh, that's a good mnemonic there. I like it. Well, welcome, Arium. How are you doing, man? Man or lady? Or dinosaur? This is, I think, a lot more subtle than what I have let on here. Much like up in the shirt, which is kind of why I wanted to look at this. Probably a little bit too strong for the pinch. Try to get a little bit nicer flow here in some of these areas. And just start softening through here. Let's see. I feel like that's probably a lot closer to what we want. And then once we get this seam line in here, right? I think this will be a little, or make a little bit more sense. But I'm gonna wait to do that. Gathering some references right now for studying environment art. Very cool, very cool. Doing some 3D environment modeling and texturing. Sounds like fun. Feel free to share a link to anything that you're working on. I would love to check it out as well. If you have like an image or something that you could share easily, or it's just something that I could easily look at. I feel like a little bit too tight back here, right? But I think that that softening of some of those folds has helped out quite a bit. You're currently streaming making a new base avatar to build off of for VR chat. You have been mentioning VR chat a lot, so that makes sense. I now understand. Get to stream using VR chat for your game. Ooh. Your game. Are you working on a game right now as well? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding. But yes, you should definitely share an image, Katie, as well. I'd love to see what you're working on. So, the seams will probably have to wait in the shirt until I do more stuff with posing, just because the position and stuff is going to change there. The seams will be very, very easy to do. I'm not really all that concerned about that for the shirt. Right here in the pants, though, let's see. Kind of just a simple straight line down the crotch and up the butt, I'm assuming, as well. Yes, this is what I wanted. A turbo jean short water polo thing. Whatever the heck that is. Google Images, why? Jeans, just jeans, okay? Just let me see some pics of some jeans. Don't get too risque, Google Images. Alright. So probably not gonna do the top portion just because it's covered up by the belt. We could probably do some of the belt loops though, that wouldn't be too hard. I'm not sure how many of those would actually be visible. So we can probably make those fairly simple. So mainly just this cut shape. Jeans backside. And then, yeah, just kind of carry that line up. And then there's some seam brushes that maybe we can play with. But to kind of get that shape started, I'm gonna cut this boy right down the middle. Close your eyes, those with a weak stomach. Sliced. Oh, whoops, that's not what we wanted. My brain, hold on. My brain needs a minute. There we go. And let's just turn off everything except for our jeans. Oh boy. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing something like this. I was just planning on essentially just cutting it up and growing it. Something like that to start to get that separation there. And then, you know, we can sculpt in whatever shape we need on top of that. And even get some of those like secondary, like pinches, all that good stuff. Another thing we can do with this is, since we have a poly group here, if we soften that form and then like pull it in a little bit, or not. Let me try scaling it first. Scale. Fine, ZBrush. We'll play your way. You know, play hardball. Just a way to start pushing in that edge to make it feel like it's more, you know, overlapping there instead of just kind of drafting straight back. And then probably run like a Dynamesh on this to make sure that edge will smooth decently through there, and we can mess with the thickness and everything else. And obviously the overlap, because now we got a gap, and this is not the kind of thigh gap that you want. Google has many ways to surprise you. Yes, it does. I googled pants and it's like, did you mean butts? Did you want to look at a bunch of butts in Speedos? Is that what you wanted? Because I'm pretty sure this is what you wanted. Oh, instead of using the art category, use the VR chat category because you're making content for it. I gotcha. I understand. And Arium, sorry I missed your link before. And if I miss anything else in chat, please just yell it out again. Arium's got some cool textures and stuff that he's working on here. Got some cool weapons. I'm into some cool weapons. And then some texture stuff. I like me some lava. That's a lot of fun. I dig it. Everybody go check out Matthew's work over on ArtStation. Click that link in chat. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything else here. Can't DM you a whip because of settings. Just if you want to post a screenshot in chat, that's totally cool. Or an Imgur link, whatever. And I don't think I missed anything else. Just yell at me if I did. if I'm missing cues or anything. So I'm just doing a little bit of normal smoothing here, alternate smoothing. And then there are some seam brushes by default in ZBrush that we could play around with. I think instead I would probably, at least let's like block this out and figure out where we want this, right? Something more like that. Let's figure out positionally where this should be. Looks like maybe about right here. Kind of pulling that shape all the way up. And an actual pair of jeans. So this is obviously, you know, this is like a little pocketed area where your zipper sits, which is why there's that seam wrapping around on that shape. So we could try to do something similar here. I think that's fine to just kind of keep that shape for now. But like I said, there are some brushes in here. I think by default, stuff like the stitch brush, and you can change some of the alphas on these. If I'm going to create stitches though, I typically like to do it with physical geometry, just because the resolution on something like this is completely dependent on the geometry underneath. So I want it, if I want that, you know, tighter resolution. And honestly, you know, this like level of detail isn't terrible because, you know, it's not really going to be seen. I like to do physical geometry for a lot of stuff though, just so I have the highest resolution possible, and then later on I can merge it down and get rid of it if need be. But I think this is a good start for our jeans to get that seam started, headed in the right direction. For the other seams, I think Kuchen Milk, I'm not positive, was asking about the live boolean stuff, playing around with that. I will wait to do that until we get into posing though, just because it's going to be frustrating to deal with that while also dealing with posing, just because it's more stuff that we have to pose. And working with layers when posing is extremely frustrating, so I try to avoid that as much as I can, to the point where I would probably delete the part of the leg that sticks down in here, and that part of the leg warmer, or sock, whatever you want to call it, just because once we go to transpose and work on multiple sections at a time, and or multiple overlaying subtools at a time, because of the difference in resolution through here, when I go to warp this and move this, it'll move this in a lot tighter areas compared to something, you know, like this that's a lower res that I have a little bit more control over. And even if I remesh this leg, we would still have a discrepancy because the polygons wouldn't line up very well. So I'll probably end up chopping off some of his legs. We will see though. That's something I would do like right before I got into to doing the posing. Let's do those little belt loops around here very quickly, because I really don't think there's going to be too many of them, and I don't think they'll be too visible either way. Maybe we could give them a quick little belt buckle too. So let's see what we got going on under here. Peek behind the proverbial curtain. So I just have a cylinder in place for what's representing the belt right now. That's totally fine. I'm cool with that. For the belt loops, I'll probably, let's just create a initialized cube And then with one subdiv or one poly loop through the middle, maybe, let's see, insert poly loop, maybe like this. And then maybe like a couple this way. And this is all just to help retain this form as it smooths. Something like that. Yeah, that feels pretty good to me. We should hide our head really quick. Here. Get rid of that. And I could turn this into an insert mesh brush if I wanted. I just want to line up one of these first, see how it feels. Maybe play with some of the thickness around the belt. Like I said, only that bottom edge is ever seen. So anything up here, you know, it's just the illusion of it being a belt, even though it's a filled in cylinder. It actually wouldn't be that hard to thin this out. All we'd have to do is Z model and add in a split point and then remove that. It's really not necessary though, I don't think. Let's just make sure that's kind of in the right place though. Something like that. Let's maybe help retain that form in the front a little bit more. Whoops. And I'm doing actually the same thing that I'm cheating with the belt. This isn't actually, you know, a loop. It's more of just the illusion of it. So let's create a couple more of these. Finagle them into place, and then we'll just mirror them over to the other side. And then probably make some adjustments as well. And these are very, very tiny. I'm zoomed in really far on them, but you know, these are, if we turn our shirt back on, most of these, you know, really aren't even seen to that degree. So we could probably even make these less of a thing, because I think the shadow on these is a little bit too strong. Probably scoot these up a little, and then pull them in to be a little bit tighter on the geometry here. Something like that. We'll mirror and weld them over to the other side, add in a couple subdivs. Make sure that the material and everything else is applied on there. And maybe we could do some additional like secondary forms on them, make them look like they're sewn on there a little bit better. Or we could just merge them into the pants so that they blend a little bit better here on the bottom edge. But really, you know, I think that's probably fine for now, especially for just, you know, blocking them in really quick. Back here, I would say we could probably even hide a little bit of that. Let me scroll back through chat here. Let's see. Here's the VR chat character that Katie's working on. Got some cool stuff going on with the blocked out shapes around the brow. I'm guessing this is kind of like a little bit, I don't know if that's the skull poking through, or if that's like a fat pad that you have in there that you're gonna blend in later. But very cool. You got some cool stuff going on. I am into it. I like some of the split up shapes you got going down in your legs. That's a smart way of going through and constructing that. Yes, Substance Designer is a little bit different than Substance Painter. I can't learn any more 3D. You think that until you do. What's the next sculpt gonna be? I don't know. We're still working on this one. It's got a ways to go before we decide what's going to be next. At least for the stream. I want to darken you. And I might paint in, or how would I do this? I might darken some of the areas around the seams quite a bit. So like kind of painting in a little bit of shadow. I just want to darken the color of the pants a little bit. To feel a little bit closer to what I'm seeing over there. And then here on the bag, I said that we would do this maybe a little bit later, but let's just look at this really quick. How we could go about maybe doing some of the seams on here pretty quick with like ZModeler. So beveling an edge loop. Ah, come on. Really doesn't want me to click this edge. Holy crap, ZBrush. Was that so hard? Alright, so I would like to get to a point where I can make these seams around here. And then maybe, let's see. Here, let's auto groups, let's split this up a little bit better. Just so it's easier to work on. Insert a poly loop. And that might need an extra bevel there to retain some of that shape because it's smoothing out and getting pretty big. Maybe it'll be different after I extrude that in and crease it up. I'd prefer not to do this with creases though. I don't know, we'll have to tackle that one step at a time. Let's extrude away. I cannot see what's going on here. Alright, so extrude poly loop. It's being a little weird down there. Let's see if we can get this to work. So there's some of those basic, just seams getting in there, some of those secondary forms. I think I'll have to move some verts around. Ooh, and this got the creases all broken up there. That's fun. I'll have to fix that. And then I think I don't want this going past here. So by holding Alt, you can click and select polygons with your ZModeler brush, which is pretty cool, very handy. I'm just selecting a few, whoa, nelly, a few of these, and then I'm going to extrude them all at once. That's probably fine. And I'll do extrude here. See how this is starting to shape up? The vertices are freaking out a little bit there, so that's not good. I'll have to do some poly modeling in that area to make that work a little bit better. Ooh, and we got some stuff freaking out here. Maybe QMesh would be better for something like that. You downgraded learning from 3D to 2D. It's not really a downgrade, they're just different. It's just a lower number doesn't mean a downgrade. For a moment stuck on 2D sketching, quite entertaining as well. Engine, what up? And Francisco. Hey guys, how you doing? So I'm in the process of creating a couple seams around this bagaroni. And I think we're going to need some creases. I might be able to just delete this polygon. Well, I can't see what's going on. Oh no, that's a bad idea, I guess. I don't think this will work the way I imagine it. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to extrude. I'll just have to do all of this at the same time, I guess. I think that's the best way. That's okay. I think that's probably for the best. Let's just finish getting the actual shapes in place here for the actual where the seams will go. So we got the two in the middle, we did that. We got the looping portion, two down the middle here. Maybe like around the outside here a little bit too. Starts to get a little too tight. Just looking at how that's changing the shape with the bevel. Could also use an insert mesh for some of this. I'm gonna fix the creases up here too while we're here. Actually, were these... I think these were always creased, right? Bevels will occasionally destroy your hard work that you did with your creasing. Ah, there we go. Alright, so I'm thinking another way to possibly go about, instead of polymodeling the scenes, would just be to do a subtractive cube tube or something like that. Or maybe even additive. It would make more sense for it to be additive, I think, for some actual stitching. I feel like that would be a little bit more clean. One thing that's really annoying about ZModeler and polygroups in general is that occasionally you'll get a white polygroup like that, and that's the color of the selection polygon, polygroup, whatever. So sometimes it's hard to tell if that's just the color of it or if it's actually selected. It's a little weird. Alright, so I'm thinking maybe adding in a seam brush around some of these areas. Could be fun to experiment with. Let's do a move infinite radius. That's not gonna work. Here. Trying to retain that form a little bit. Grab a move brush. Polygons are being a little bit annoying. It's retaining that shape a little bit too much. I'm thinking that after playing around with the ZModeler there, that it's just going to be better to, because the form is changing so drastically there with the bevels that I'm adding, it's going to change the shape too much. So I think just using an actual like live boolean would be a better idea. I guess we'll know once we get in there a little bit more. What the heck? There we go. Let's see. So what I would like to do for that is pretty much what I'm going to do on the shirts, the jeans, everything else. Probably use a curved tube snap brush and then use some kind of really small stroke, even smaller than that. Set it to negative. Here, let's really quick, just so we can demonstrate for those that haven't seen. Set this to negative, turn on live boolean, and then use it as a subtractive piece here. And obviously make this much more narrow. Possibly even change the shape, but then we can use this to create seams. Obviously not a place where we want a seam. But then this is actual physical geometry here, so I can adjust this in a number of ways to get some different effects. We could even, grab every other poly loop here and possibly do some cool stuff to make that a little bit more seam-like. We'll play around with it. But that's the basic idea. I don't like to do that stuff until I'm, really satisfied with everything else in the shape that I'm creating. And then I can kind of jump more into that, probably after I get into posing. But real quick here, we've done some good stuff in the shirt, cleaned up a bunch of stuff in the pants. It's got this interaction a lot nicer. Quickly added in some base shapes for our belt loops. I wanted to do a very quick belt buckle here in the front, and I think I'll do that next. And we can move on to maybe some stuff with the hair. The hair is going to be a lot of work, to say the least. Get a real quick cube in place. And here. Let's see, probably just make this the same color. Maybe even just like steal this and replace it up there. Really, like what I have right now is probably enough, in all honesty. Since this little sliver is all we see. Here. I'm gonna try beveling some edges. We'll see how it goes. Not the direction I want. ZBrush has trouble, there we go, figuring out which direction you want to bevel edges a lot of the time. I guess that backside doesn't matter. Which is why I put some edge loops in there. Sometimes it helps it understand what you want a little bit better. I was just trying to do a quick little bevel just to make the form a little bit more visually interesting. And I really think that's going to be it for that shape. If anything, I could make like the bevel a little bit thicker. I'm zoomed in really close here, so it's hard to tell exactly, you know, how I'd want that shape, but just so it's more visually apparent. Alright, we are gonna have a quick stretch / bathroom break. And I will be right back. And from there, probably on the hair. Probably do some stuff with the hair. I don't know. I haven't really decided. The hair is going to be a lot of work, which is why I'm kind of avoiding it. Maybe we'll do some stuff with the hands, which are also going to take a lot of time to work on. But yes, I will be right back in like 5 minutes. Okie doke. Let's. Oh man, there we go. Alright, we're back. Let's see. We got a lot that we can work on. What do you guys think? Hands, hair? Maybe something else? I'm wondering if I need to make his feet a little bit longer. I feel like the neck could be a little bit more narrow. Just kind of looking at some of the stuff going on up here. I might do some things to sharpen up the features of the face. I don't know. Haven't really thought about it too much. Just some things that I'm kind of noticing, thinking out loud a little bit. Alright. Let's take a look at our hairs. I explained a lot of the problems last night on the Pixelogic stream, so I'm probably not going to talk too much more about those, but more instead just kind of try to focus here on actually fixing a lot of what's going on here. Francisco asks, what am I planning on doing after sculpting the androids? I don't know. I have a huge, backlog of stuff that I could work on. But I plan on working on Android 18 for something else. I don't know, I guess we'll find out. Can you show me your work in progress for the hair? Yeah, absolutely. I always encourage people to share their work in the chat. Whatever you're working on. It doesn't even have to be 3D. If you're working on anything cool, let's check it out. You keep complaining about it? Well, that's okay. You're allowed. It's your project. You can complain as much as you want. Here's Kook and Milk's character. We actually looked at this character, I think, 2 weeks ago. Is that right, Kook and Milk? On the Saturday critiques that we were playing around with. I can't tell if these are just individual planes or not. It looks like they are one-sided. You got some cool shapes going on here, for sure. You might just need, I think, a little... It looks like maybe you're lacking some more layers in some of these areas where there's some gaps to where you could see the head maybe a little bit more than you would want. I'm pretty sure you're setting these up for just hair cards, if I'm not mistaken. You might be able to get away with a little bit less topology in some of these as well, depending on, you know, I don't think you're going for a specific poly count or anything, so I don't think it matters. So I wouldn't even worry about it. But if in-engine was a thing, then you might want to consider that a little bit more. I think you got some cool shapes going on though. I would maybe avoid covering up the eye a little bit too much here as well. Just where these are coming down. I guess it depends on the texture that you use for the actual hair. But that's looking cool. I think you're gonna knock it out of the park once you actually apply some hair cards on there. Or stupid pen. My pen's broken. This happens. There we go. Once you start applying your textures on there, I think that'll look really cool. Yes, for Bully Saturday, or Sunday. It's Saturday, yes. Oh, and speaking of Bully Saturday, so I will not be streaming for the next couple days. I have some family stuff that I need to take care of, so I will be gonzo until Saturday. So Saturday is when we do our live critiques. If you want to get your stuff critiqued this Saturday live on stream, all you have to do is email me your Z-tool of whatever you're working on, and we will take a look at it on stream. You can email me at follygon@gmail.com and just include your Twitch username or your name so I know who you are and I can mention you, and include some information about your file so that we can figure out exactly what you're trying to accomplish and we can critique it better. The more information, the better. Slowly working through your YouTube videos. You got content to keep me busy for months. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we've recorded. If you are new here, everything that I stream goes up on my YouTube channel. I also have a bunch of just tutorials and all sorts of other things that I've worked on, other video projects or characters, all sorts of stuff. Just on YouTube/Follygon, or you can just Google Follygon and you'll find it. Or there might be a link below. I think so. I'm not sure. A lot of problems with this hair, so I'm trying to work through most of them right now. This is going to take quite a bit of time to actually build up to a good level. A lot of the problems stem from the silhouette of this hair and just kind of how it's not incredibly possible in 3D. Not without making it look terrible from every other angle. We could make it look good from one single view, but that's not really our job as 3D artists, right? Gotta make it look good from every possible angle. So I'm gonna continue to fight this silhouette until I just say screw it, but I haven't reached that point yet. So we'll keep going here for a while. Let's see. I don't remember what I had this remesh to in terms of resolution earlier, so let's play around. I think 1K might be good. I guess we'll find out. Gotta go, but thanks for the advice. No problem, Kuchen. I will see you next time. Hope to make you proud on the next Bully Saturday. It's Critique Saturday, but okay. I was muting myself so you don't have to listen to me chew. Can you show me the plane? Can I show you my planes of the face so you can bully me? It's in a very early stage. It's not Bully Saturday. You can share an image. Francisco, I'm not sure if you're the one who emailed me or not about the planar face. I haven't taken a look at it yet. I'm not sure if that was you or not. But we're going to be taking a look on Saturday for the critique, if you're talking about the actual sculpt. If you just have an image that you want to share, though, by all means, throw it up in chat. We will take a look. Of course not. Kinda don't believe you. You telling a fish story, Francisco? It was you. It was you. I thought so. Unless there just so happens to be another Francisco. We can take a look at the image right now if you want, really quick. If you just want, you know, a quick once over, just, you know, verbally. I can bully you verbally if you want. Or if you want to wait until we go into the sculpt over, we can maybe do that a little bit more. I think you'll get more out of a sculpt over than me just kind of taking a quick look here. I try to save that stuff for Saturday so we can do it all at once. It is me. Yeah. I know. You're not a very good liar, Francisco. Not even in text. That's like the easiest way to lie. I can wait for Saturday to get bullied. Alright. Alright, I guess I'm going to have to step up my game and be a little bit more mean in my critiques if we're going to call it Bully Saturday. Whoops. Oh, this shape. What is going on here? Sorry, I'm not talking too much. I'm actually trying to concentrate for once. I'm not super great at talking and sculpting as is, but when I'm actually trying to figure something out, even less so. There's just this impossible dichotomy between these two shapes. And I pulled this up here in Photoshop. So, oops. So we have this shape here, right? This silhouette break. Right? Flowing back to back on the head there, and then coming straight down, and then curving a little bit here. But then we also have this shape that doesn't make much sense here. So I've been, trying to figure out essentially this shape here for a while, and maybe it's just maybe we could get away with some kind of positive shape here. I don't know. Just block out maybe an idea of some polygons here. Figure out what's going on. Maybe something like this. And then this line, you know, flowing back here behind everything that we got going around the head. Or I guess it would be maybe like more around this way. Oh, could try something like that, and then this shape, this line is coming forward towards us. That's what I'm thinking. And then as it comes down this way, it starts to twist a little bit that way. And then this line is in front of this one, and this continues to flow down here. And then this side, maybe we could do the same thing. I don't know. I've tried many things here with this hair, playing around with the shape and everything else. I'm not really liking too much of anything I try. So let's switch it up a little bit. Let's try it out. Let's first start by just grabbing a cube tube brush and drawing out a stroke. I'll just accept what I got. And I think I want to do this with just like one plane. Or here. So just a single-sided plane first. And I'm just gonna kind of poly model this a little bit. See if we can figure this out. Because I really want to make this work. It's just a really weird thing that's going on here. Something that, to my brain at least, doesn't really make too much sense in 3D. And I originally said, like, I don't think this is going to be possible, but maybe we can do it. I'm just gonna spend some time moving some individual verts around. That's always fun, right? Really need a sanity check on this hair. So that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about that twist that's coming through there. Come on, pen. And then pulling this line out towards us. I will do this. I will figure this out. Or I will die trying. Might happen. That was really cool to see. I love this exploration part of sculpting. Just the little polygonal draw over here. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out. Initially, I'm thinking, my initial thought when I saw this was, this is not possible. Just because it's so drastically different from the other side. But maybe there's still hope, you know? Maybe we can still figure it out. Not very good at sculpting, but I still like to see the process and decision making that goes into it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. More so just, this is one of the more difficult shapes that I've had to attempt to figure out here. This one doesn't make really all that much sense to me. Or at least, it's not an intuitive kind of thing looking at it. I feel like that kind of makes sense. There's a point in studying that you can only learn by seeing what other people think while doing their stuff. Yes, you are getting to see exactly what I think, which is, this is not possible, but then me being like, okay, maybe it is possible. We'll play around with it for a while. Like traditional 3D modeling. Yeah, polymodeling, right? Nah. You can do that too. I actually do a lot of that. That's how we made, come on. That's how we made our little leg warmers down here. Yay. These were polymodeled. They just have a smooth group on them. It's a bunch of weird poly groups down there, but that's okay. We'll stick with them. And Matthew, what's going on? Determination intensifies, yes. We will get it. Maybe. What is going on, Matthew? How are you? Alright. We will figure this out. Let's do an extrude. All polygons. Go on through here. Let's do a bevel here, bevel edge loop complete. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We're gonna do it. We're gonna figure it out. Maybe. Alright, let's get rid of this edge loop. I think this is pretty close to the actual shape that I want. I think this might be it. Oh boy, we might have figured it out. I don't actually know if I need that strand. I might just use this for what flows down in front of the ear there. Oh boy. And this isn't too far off from what I visually saw in Android 17 in his hair. Got kind of like a similar shape, but it like dips in under there. I feel like our shape makes, I feel like that's what I'm seeing there. I am liking this direction though. It's just a matter of blending it into the rest and combining a lot of these shapes. Oh, I think we might have figured it out, crew. I think we might have done it. We done did it. Gabor welcome to the stream. Sorry I only speak English and a very small amount of Japanese, so I'm not sure even what language that is. But welcome. Let's see. We'll do a quick auto detect. It's over again. It's over. Well, it's not over. Ah, okay. I gotcha. Alright. Well, welcome, guys, and everybody else that's joining us. We figured out some stuff with our hair after a long kind of pushing and pulling stuff around, and with a little bit of a draw over in Photoshop, I think I was able to figure out some of these shapes a little bit more. And this is a pretty complex form that I've had to create here, at least mentally. For me, it was kind of tough to figure out. But we'll be doing some work to blend all this together now. I think maybe make sure that our silhouette is, wrapping back correctly. And we might get like a little, this might feel a little weird here in the silhouette, so maybe we can play with this side a little bit more, figure that out. We'll get there. Let's look at just adding some... Ooh. Need to flip our normals on both of these. Let's look at adding some volume through some of this. I was using move with backface masking, but because our normals are all screwed up right now, I just need to flip that. I'm glad we were able to figure that out. Oh, and that is freaking out. Cool. Have you been reading any manga? I have not. Or, you know what? That's not true. What's it called? Slime from Another World or whatever. I read a little bit of that. I haven't in a while. But when I first saw the first episode of the anime, I was like, ooh, I want to check this out. And I do that from time to time. Probably the last manga. Or I also read One Punch Man. I love One Punch Man. But One has stopped making stuff for the webcomic. The webcomic was honestly, like, it was silly. And the whole show is silly. But I really liked the terrible art style and how fun it was. And how you could actually see One's art style develop over time. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, let's see. You guys probably know who One Punch Man is, right? Saitama. He's this dude here. But this is the original actual art style. This started as a webcomic. And just so you can see the difference between the manga and what the original webcomic and what the manga looks like. I mean, it's terrible. Like it's not it's not drawn very well at all. It's hilarious, but it's very, very good. So good, in fact, that they purchased the rights to it and made an amazing manga that's drawn by, I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. Somebody in chat might know. But it's beautiful, beautiful artwork in the new manga. There's a comparison for you guys. Another one. And then they made it into an anime as well. That's very good. I'm a huge fan. Love it. Other than that, though, I don't read too much manga or check out too much manga. I'm gonna need to cover up this hair, or this ear, with the hair a little bit more over here. So probably just get like a little bit more volume here in general. Omae wa mou shindeiru. Nice. No, the manga, that person won, the creator of One Punch, did not suddenly get amazing at drawing. No, they're still not super great. They also made, they're the creator of Mob Psycho 100, and the original webcomic for that looks just as terrible. If you've never seen that, I would recommend checking it out. It's great. Or at least check out the anime. The anime is really good. Alright, this silhouette from the front I'm not liking too much. I want to kind of raise up these lines where that break is happening a little bit more. Maybe try rounding this surface out, getting a little bit more of an M shape. I think I might adjust the angle of his ears a little bit. Rotate him back just a tiny bit. Sticking out a little bit further than what I want. And we got some geometry. Oh, that's nice. Geometry that exploded in here. Just from a projection. Let me clean this up real quick. That's always fun to deal with. Luckily it's behind the ear. So anytime you have these little tight areas like this, tends to cause some kind of projection issue. You can get in on the inside of your mesh and clean it up though pretty easily. Sometimes they're a lot worse than what I just cleaned up here. Typically, I would say they're worse. That wasn't really that bad, though. I'm going to mask off our ears and then rotate them in. Probably have to thin out some of the hair there on the part where it's flowing behind the ear, but at least we'll be able to pull in some of this. Nani? You're also keeping up with the one with the slime? Yeah, apparently that was a light novel at first, and then it got translated into a manga, and now an anime. I actually need to catch up on the past couple episodes. I'm pretty sure it's not caught up to where I am in the manga yet, though. What is that show called? It's like a slime from another world, or that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I think that's what it's called. If you have not checked it out, it's pretty funny. I like it a lot. I might be deleting his ear on this side just to make it frame better with the hair. I'm gonna ignore the ears for a little bit just while I think about the silhouette. Best show? I wholeheartedly agree. But there are many best shows. Yes, delete the ear, nobody has to know. I completely agree. I do that kind of stuff all the time. It's like, it's never seen, and it's just kind of getting in the way. Goodbye, ear. You are gone now. And I'm sure I will delete the ear. Not this one, the one on the other side. We don't even want to think about stray strands of hair right now. We're way too kind of early in this. Pretending like you never saw the ear in the first place. I actually don't even know how you do that in chat. Like I said, I'm very bad at Twitch. I don't know all these secrets. Are there like RuneScape text filters that I can apply? Make my text wave back and forth, or flash? Best show is Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is pretty good. Yeah, I like that a lot too. I like the manga more though, because it's a lot further along. With all the praise that show gets, you'd think they would be releasing it like as fast as Boku no Hero Academia, which is also an amazing show, an amazing anime. Boku no Hero is probably, well, it's not airing right now, but once it starts airing again, it's probably like my favorite anime that's been released in the past like year. It's so good. It's so popular that they even aired, or not aired, but showed the film, their most recent My Hero film in theaters in the US for like, I think for only one or two weekends. But an anime movie in the US is like unheard of. Not since some older Studio Ghibli movies. I feel like, have they done something to that degree? I'm sure there's some others, like Lupin 9? What is it? Lupin the Thief Dude? Lupin 9 or something? I feel like some of those aired in the US. But I think Miyazaki might have had some kind of hand in that as well. Somebody's gonna have to do some Googling though, because I'm just speaking from memory. Type /me before you type your message? I had no idea. Huh. Well, that's fun. You guys got any more Twitch hacks for me? I'll change the title of the stream. Twitch hack lessons. Oh, this shape. Definitely getting... I'm liking the kind of 3/4 view a lot more from both sides. I feel like I might be able to push some of this up even further, or maybe just change the shape of this head a little bit. Alright, let's see if I can adjust this all at once real quick. Attack on Titan is getting the final arc, so I'm okay with it being monthly, so it doesn't get rushed. Are they releasing episodes one a month or something? I haven't really been following it. What are some other good animes, guys? Other than that weird volleyball butt one. I don't know what that one's called, though. I regrettably haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure Ariel's seen it. Oh, the manga's monthly. Gotcha. Keijo, is that what it's called? It's like some... I haven't seen it, so the best way that I can describe it without having seen it is that it's butt sports. It's butt sports. They do sports with their butt or something. This is my understanding of it based on the trailer and GIFs that I have seen. Looks like a top quality show, from what I can tell. All right. Let's see. Just a quick test here on something. Oh, you know what? I actually might like that a bit more. And then kind of rounding out this top portion. I was kind of trying to go for more of an M shape there for a little bit, but you know what? I think we're gonna like this more. I think it'll be closer to the 2D. Kind of got some Sephiroth hair going on here. The exclamation marks are actually part of the title? Oh wow. I did not know that. That's funny. Just so you know, if you want to say the title of our anime, you have to scream it at the top of your lungs. Keijo with four bangs. Alright, so I'm just trying to get this silhouette to read a little bit better from the front. Right, we don't need it to be perfectly symmetrical. That's obviously not what we're trying to do. Just trying to get it nice and clean and have it read really well from that heroic view. That kind of 3/4, trying to feel that silhouette shape, get that hit there. Wrapping down and around the face. But then we also have to make sure that it looks good from every other angle too, from our front and profiles, and look at those even extreme angles like top down, making sure that the shape is still feeling consistent with the shape of the head, and looking at this guy from the bottom up, just making sure that things are making sense and feeling good. And we're getting there. We just want to take our time, make sure we're making some really clean shapes. I feel like kind of losing some volume here. You know what? Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. I'm gonna do a quick test here. I just mirrored this over to the other side because I want to see what this is looking like after I fix that top piece there. I don't know. I think that feels a little bit just cleaner to me. Did a little bit more work over there on the other side. Let me see. All one poly group. Remesh this back down. We might have some geometry poking through there. That's not good. Ugh, hair. Hair's a nightmare. Hair's fun. It's just you know, takes a long time. Sculpting in general takes a long time. But it's definitely really rewarding once you get to that point where shapes start feeling a lot nicer. If you guys saw where this guy started with the block out process and everything else, then you would really probably already understand that, because he started off, you know, completely just blobby. He was a blob boy at first. That's how everything starts, though. One step at a time. I'm gonna delete this, I think. You know what? Maybe not. It does look like this strand comes down here from where I have it going, so maybe not. Forget what I said. We don't want to think too much about stray strands, though. Goodbye, ear. It was nice knowing you. Is that over here as well? No, I thought I fixed this on both sides. Maybe it was a little bit different. Alright, so I'm just gonna hide the ear for now and probably end up deleting it later. Just so we can frame the face a little bit better with this hair. Without worrying about the ear changing our shape too much. Making us have to pull it out really far. Get this huge lump or convexity or convexity there. Whew! Figured out some stuff with our hair. It's always a good feeling. When you're an artist, everything takes a long time. Not everything, but yes, sculpting is a slow process. Even digital sculpting, when we have lots of tools that speed up a bunch of stuff for us. Just so I can get an idea of how this is kind of framing the face here. Let's sample a color here. Fill in on our hair. Or not. Alright, obviously still quite a bit more work to go up there in the hair, but there's some definite progress. Alright. Where to next? Probably the hands. Do some stuff down there for a little bit. That, or let's just grab the full body image here. I feel like there's still a little bit of cleanup in terms of how sharp I made some of these shapes. I feel like some of them are okay, some of the negative shapes, but a lot of these just feel like they got way too tight. So let me just do a quick pass on these jeans, these jean boys. I really don't like how wavy this line got. I think that's a result of the geometry when I cut this up. And then smoothed it out a little bit. There were some holes in the mesh because this was such a thin area, and there still are some holes in the mesh. Whoops. So I'm just hitting these with my trim dynamic brush on some of these peaks where it gets really sharp. Some of these areas it just feels like it turns really too tightly for that kind of material. You might see something like this in like a thinner fabric. I think some of the negatives are okay though, like some of these tight creases in here. I'm okay with that. Just some of these positive creases. It's a little overdone. And it's actually pretty hard to tell with this material. If you're having trouble seeing your form, you can switch to something like the Basic or the Basic 2. They're both really nice, just default materials. I like using my Follygon clay. It's something that I made a few years back. Spent a long time just kind of tweaking it back and forth until I got it to something that I really liked using. I use this for pretty much everything that I sculpt. But there's nothing wrong with the Basic and the Basic 2 materials. I like them a lot too. They're just kind of a little bit... The Basic material is a little bit too intense for my liking. It's just after sculpting for a really long time, it gets kind of harsh on the eyes. And it also exaggerates some form a little bit more than you might think, especially if you're zoomed in really close working on some stuff. It tends to make you think that your details are a lot stronger than they actually are. I think it is a really good material though, with all that said still. So if you guys are new and trying to figure out something to sculpt with, I'd try out those two. I would really advise against using a matte cap to sculpt with. I think matte caps, you can do a lot of cool stuff with the materials. I just don't think they're very good for actually sculpting. You might like it, you know, it's totally preference, it's all up to you. I kind of hate them and I don't think they're very good for sculpting. Especially since you can't shift your light around. But you can get some really cool materials, like this is a green metallic. I believe that's just a default. There's a lot of stuff in here. You can assign different cool matte cap materials. You can actually import an image into ZBrush and sample different colors and essentially create your own matte cap material based on a certain material that you have an image of. Let me reassign that color there. Fill object, cool. Alright, so there might be some more that we can do there to lessen some of the creases, but I'm going to leave it for now. Before we get onto our hands, I want to make sure that I have this set up properly in our sleeve. I did some of this last night, just kind of playing around with how I wanted to make the cuff for the shirt. So I just made another piece of geometry here that could represent that. And this is fine. So the way it's kind of blending in here is a little bit weird. Once we get into some of the folds down here around the sleeve, it might be better to have those combined and then make the actual cuff link after creating the folds. Kind of like what I did with the jeans. I sculpted a lot of these folds first and then I made that major seam line down the middle. I typically find that a lot easier than sculpting a seam line and then doing the folds, kind of like what I preemptively did here. This was more of just for a demonstration last night to kind of show a couple different methods for how you could create some seams, since we were talking about that yesterday morning. I wanted to show it on the Pixelogic stream as well. Which isn't too bad because I believe I have... Oh, maybe not. That's okay. The folds are going to be a little asymmetric here too, so different shapes. So I probably won't sculpt too much of that until I get to that phase, but I would at least like to, you know, keep these clean and neutral. So that once I do put one arm up, I can do that. There's also probably just some different shapes happening in the arms here. If we look at this elbow right here and how sharp that transition is, maybe we can put that back here on this elbow as well. Currently right now I just have, you know, a little bit of a transitional crease indicating that there's an elbow there. This is a sleeve, right? So it probably shouldn't even be that hard, that sharp of a turn. But over here, that point is like sharp as a dagger. You could kill somebody with that elbow. We'll have to figure that out. And that'll be fun. This is just more of that kind of stuff that, you know, makes the silhouette of the character more interesting. It doesn't really make too much sense for something in 3D, I guess. And there's a lot of instances of that in this character. Up in the face, he's got like this really sharp point breaking up the silhouette up there. It looks awesome. I love it. It's just not super possible in 3D unless we, of course, you know, just make it look completely asymmetric. I mean, we can do that kind of stuff if we come in here and turn off symmetry and get a really sharp 1, 2, 3 in the silhouette. It's like, yeah, we did it, but like that's not what's happening over here on this side of the face. So I would prefer to keep things, you know, relatively symmetrical in the face. We could, of course, maybe start to get a little bit more of a sharper pull out here. It's just that I'm not really seeing that too much on this side of the face, so I feel like if you're going to do it on one side, you should do it on the other. So I opted for a more rounded face instead of that kind of sharper transition. Not that it looks bad, it's just that you have to make a decision for what you're going to do. So I've kind of pulled that out a little bit more, but obviously not to the extent of a dagger cheekbone. Same thing that's going down in the elbow, going on down in the elbow. Casually Derp, welcome to the stream and thank you for the follow. How are you doing? Casually Derp. That's pretty good. I like that. I've noticed that I'm sinking lower and lower into my chair. Alright, so let's get in here on our hands a little bit. Hang on, I'm just gonna put this dude up in our corner and hang out for a little bit while we work on some hands. Continuing to watch from the ZBrush stream. Ah, okay, so you were hanging out last night, that's right. On the Pixelogic channel. Yep, continuing to do some more stuff on our Android 17. I've already gotten a lot more done today. Alright, so what do we want to do here? He's not really making a fist. I've talked about this hand a little bit already. If we can look at our zoomed in image. He's not really making a fist. It's kind of a little bit looser. It almost feels like he's holding a gun, an invisible gun. That's kind of what this pose looks like to me. So it's kind of like this awkward like half fist. So we're going to try to match this shape a little bit closer. And obviously the other hand is in a different pose, so I have some other fingers over there. And we'll maybe mess with that after this one for a little bit. Let's just start getting some of these angles a little bit closer. With our invisible gun pose. That's kind of what it looks like to me. Does Android 17 have an invisible gun in the anime? Does anybody know? It's been a while since I've seen DBZ, but I don't think they have gun. Or you know what? Maybe that's how they shoot the Kamehamehas. They got their invisible guns. It has nothing to do with ki or spirit energy. It's just invisible guns. I think I just solved all of DBZ. Maybe one day we can have the technology to Kamehameha as well. Kahamamama. A little bit inflate. This is looking a little bit too thin down here. Play with the shape of that hand a little bit too as we continue forward. I want to avoid, you know, too much kind of curve in the back of my hand. I want to keep that relatively straight. Hands are, in all honesty, a character unto themselves. Like, hands take a long time. And it's kind of why I don't enjoy sculpting them too much, just because you spend forever on them, and then people look at them for like 2 seconds, and it's like, okay, on to the next thing. Hello, I'm on ArtStation. Like, okay, I looked at your image for 3 seconds. Goodbye. When you're, that's how it feels, at least for your personal art. But when you're doing stuff for, you know, a client, it's a little bit different. You know, they're definitely going to inspect everything. And it's also important that you do the best work that you can. But when it's for your personal stuff, and you're like, you know, I'm just making this character, trying to do some good work here. Nobody's going to look at your hands. Nobody's going to look at your feet. You'll get lucky if you can even get to the second read, or if you can get somebody to get a second read on your character. Normally it's like first read only, which is another reason why those big old primary shapes are so important. You want people to stick around and keep looking at your character. So pretty much my strategy when I'm making fingers and making a specific pose for a hand, like in this case, what we did previously, let's see, grab our other fingers here. Yes, I can do this, great. Alright, so I'm going to grab my insert hand. This is a brush that I actually made on stream. I'll just insert a tiny one here, take a look. So this is kind of a base hand that I have set up in ZBrush. I turned it into an insert mesh. I keep the fingers separated from the hand so that I can do what I'm doing over on the other hand. You know, start to pose a certain finger in a particular way or change the shape of the finger, and then I can just duplicate it out across multiple times so I don't have to sculpt for individual fingers. It's kind of the same strategy now. Over here, these fingers are in a different pose and a little bit of a different shape, so we're gonna do those separately from this one. This hand on his left hand, right? Our right. His left. That was confusing. So a little bit of finagling here. I currently have these fingers split up into separate pieces of geometry as well. I find that this is very helpful when you're doing a pose that involves the fingers like clenching in any way to where they would be like touching up against each other. So if you want to dynamesh or remesh, you're not going to end up with geometry that ends up freaking out and combining in some of those areas. If you're doing a fist, I recommend keeping the fingers cut off into segments similar like this. I would recommend keeping your thumb separated. Or if you have just like a really good base hand, you can start kind of going from there and starting to pose everything. But I recommend before you start folding everything up that you set up polygroups for selecting stuff, and that'll help make that quite a bit easier as well. Currently trying to retopo your mesh from Marvelous, however, it's a pain in the arse to retain the UVs. If you're changing the geometry, you won't be able to retain the UVs. You're probably going to have to redo the UVs on that altogether. So I don't think there's a really easy way to go about that. But yes, that does sound like a pain. A necessary pain, though. A necessary evil. And I'll just scale these down a little bit as I go down the chain. And these are just like slowly, rotating in more and more. I really don't understand what he's supposed to be doing with this pose. If anybody knows or thinks they have an idea what he's doing here, it doesn't feel like a relaxed hand pose. It feels very, very intentional. It's a cool shape. I like it. I just don't understand it. Pew pew, invisible gun. What's going on, Six Belly? Ash, how you doing? Thank you for the follow. Pew pew. This is what he's doing. He is like straight up holding an invisible gun. I've determined that that is what's happening in this pose. It can be nothing else. We'll do some stuff to make those fingers integrate a little bit better, but let's just see how we're looking here. Let's make this a little bit more drastic. Get a little bit more of that angle there. And of course we'll work on all the connection points up around here for the knuckles and everything. We just want to figure out where the fingers go. Checking if there's dirt under his nails. Not quite. He doesn't really even have any fingernails. But if he did, I don't know. I feel like he might. He doesn't. Android 17 doesn't seem like he'd be a super meticulously clean guy. Or a robot, whatever you want to call him. Alright, so for the pose out here for the thumb, I think we have the basic kind of direction. I think there's just proportionally a few changes we want to make. Bring this a little bit closer to what we're seeing there. I don't think I've also shouted out, I can't remember if I did or not, so I'll just do so again. If you guys haven't checked out GopGap's work, that's the original artist here for the 2D stuff. You should definitely go check him out. It's just Gap, spelled exactly the way it sounds. You should definitely go check out some of their work. They got some awesome concepts and just a really cool style. If you guys are looking for anything cool that you're thinking about, you're looking for some cool stylized characters to sculpt or something like that, they have a ton of really cool stuff. I can't remember if it was GopGap who did some of the Disney Infinity sketches or not. Can't remember now. Now I want to check it out. Did you do some of the Disney Infinite stuff? Or maybe it wasn't GopGap. I can't remember now. Who am I thinking of? But yes, I think I've seen this guy in 3D. Ping Pong Kong. Yes. He just has so many cool characters. Such awesome style. I think I've seen this 11 in 3D as well. Ooh, I didn't know he had some Powerpuff Girls sketched out. But yes, just an incredible artist. Here's the concept that I'm working off of. 3 years ago, dang. He's doing some more, it looks like environmental stuff, kind of like storytelling from what I've seen most recently. The horseman and sun with glowing sword. That's awesome. Yeah, he's got some really cool stuff. Go check him out. The horseman and glowing. Now I want to sculpt that. Please, someone sculpt a horseman. A horse boy. Change the angle here of some of these knucks, some of these knuckles. Your hand has quite a bit of curve to it. And then for the interaction with the palm here, just delete that. I'm going to delete some geometry on some of these. Let's see. So I like to split up my my stuff that I'm working on into lots of individual subtools. It just helps me, you know, it's just kind of the way I've always worked. Maybe not always, but it's the way I've sculpted for a very long time now. And my thing that I always say is when in doubt, split it out. If you're having trouble creating a specific shape, split it up into separate parts and break it down into its most primary shapes, and that will, I think, really help you out. It's kind of what I do just when I'm sculpting pretty much everything. I get a lot of questions that are like, how would you do this? How would you sculpt X? How would you sculpt Y? I'm like, I don't know, the same way I sculpt everything. Watch me sculpt for like 5 minutes and you'll understand my entire process. It's not it's not a secret. I don't hide anything. Alright, so on the knuckles, I'm gonna need that little bit of volume here. And then let's start there. It's starting to get, let's do AccuCurve here, move AccuCurve, sorry. Kind of pull in a little bit. I guess I could just kind of sculpt in, fill that out a little bit more. Looks like I have to change some of the angles of these a little bit. Hands are tough though. Hands take a long time. Like I said, they're pretty much a character unto themselves. I think I recently, let me see. If you guys aren't familiar with Grizz and Norm, I believe they both work at Disney, but they have this book called 100 Tuesday Tips. And, you know, as boring as the pose in the hand here is, like, just how much character you can get in something, just a hand alone. I saved this, I think, just last night. It's like, I love this. But they have these really cool books called 100 Tuesday Tips, and they're full of essentially animator tips or just, like, drawing, sketching tips in general. But they're also very useful, I think, for 3D artists. So if you have not checked out, again, that's 100 Tuesday Tips. Here. Just so you can see a few of these. It's like little things like this. I think they post these on their Instagram as well, but the book is really, really cool. All sorts of little interesting tidbits of info. I'm a big fan. And a lot of that can be, like I said, applicable in 3D as well. Forgot to set a timer today. That's alright. Just keep an eye on the clock. We can go for a bit longer. What was the name of the artist? Which one? Sorry. The one I was just showing was Grizz and Norm. They're two different artists. It's a husband and wife duo. And then the artist over here is Gop Gap. What is your hand doing, Android 17? Why do you do this? No idea. But we will do it all the same. Wish I had a couple additional views here so I could make some more sense of some of what I'm seeing. It's always nice, but it's alright. We'll do what we can here. So some of the things that I'm looking at here as I rotate around a lot, I'm just looking at the overall gesture from kind of that heroic angle, right, flowing up through here. I feel like we could maybe even get this to be a bit more shallow going this way. I'm looking at the just overall silhouette and seeing how this is reading as I rotate around in 3D space. Making sure that this is looking good from every possible angle. It's kind of reading the same as the same kind of shape and gesture from some other angles here. Kind of look at it upside down, and or technically I guess right side up, right? It's like I said, I don't exactly know what he's... It doesn't feel like a fist to me, especially with that thumb out to the side. So I'm calling this the invisible gun hand pose. M. Gravish, thank you for the follow and welcome to the stream. How are you, M. Gravish? Invisible gun. What's this thumb doing? Thumb feels pretty awkward to me right now, at least. It's fairly close to where we would want it to be. I think we could slide this like whole section up a little bit. I've done that a couple times already, but just to push that more in that direction. Possibly Play with the rotation there as well. I think we're getting there. We're pretty close now. Do a quick Dynamesh. Maybe work on pushing in around the knuckles a little more. Just to get a little bit more turning for that form. Most of this extra geometry's, you know, it's fine. I can just chop it off. It's not really bothering anything. These lines obviously fade out. Thinking about edge quality, right? Never have, unless it adds to the design in some way, never have just, you know, a line that goes from point A to point B and it's all consistent, right? You want to fade in and fade out a little bit. That brush is a little strong here. You never want, you know, nice stroke. You want to start soft and press in more and then fade out. And then maybe you'll get a little bit better at doing that a little bit quicker over time. Kind of just what I do is I just kind of move my hand in like an arc. Just kind of go like this. I have not been like classically taught how to use like really even a pencil, but I've seen other artists do it and I've heard, you know, I've watched a YouTube video where people have described parts of their process about like even how they hold their pen. I tend to just hold my graphics pen. Actually, I'm holding it a lot differently now because my pen broke. The way I normally held it, I would choke in really close on it and just have my thumb so that I could press that front button there. Now I have to hold it back quite a bit further so that I can press that back button because my front one's all busted up. Doesn't work, which is no fun. But that's alright. I just kind of hold it like a pencil. Doesn't really matter too much, I think, for digital. More so with traditional, though. There's a lot of cheating that we can do with the lazy mouse and stuff here in 3D. Make it a lot easier on us. And I am totally okay with that. I'm not super great at drawing super straight lines. Case in point. Let's see, what do we want to do for this shape? Maybe just round it out more than what I'm doing. Kind of exaggerating that probably a bit more here. Hands. I've sculpted too many hands and also not enough hands. Too many hands because I feel like I've just sculpted a ton of hands and I dislike sculpting hands now. Not enough hands because I could always be better at it and much faster at it as well. But every character's hand is different. Different stylization going on here. Let me up the res on that Dynamesh. It's still pretty low. A little bit better. And then this side here could use some help. Might be easier to do once I start actually blending those fingers in. Might wait on that. Alright, let's take a look at one of these fingers. So, I could merge some of this together. The problem though is that where that's compressed, that will start combining. So we could do a quick little shift out like that. Maybe then merge it and then repress it back down. Could even Zremesh with keep groups on for something like this and have it retain our little edge separations there for our knuckles. Not incredibly clean, but at least it's respecting that. Let's see if we even, ooh, getting very stretched in here. Not sure if I'm liking that. I'm also thinking that these fingers are going to need to be a lot shorter from this first digit, kind of pulled in quite a bit. Yeah, I think that's just quite a bit too much stretching through here. Not digging it. Not digging it. Not yet, at least. But everything looks bad until it doesn't. Sometimes things stay looking bad, though. Kind of just some crappy topology here in general. Ooh, you know what? Here, I got an idea. Just so we're not getting such a weird topology flow, I'll try to force Zremesher here to do another loop through here. We could also use the Zremesher guides brush. It's also a pretty effective tool to get Zremesher to do what you want. A lot of the time Zremesher will just kind of give you pretty crappy results, but that's because it's automatic topology. So we kind of take what we can get. That's nasty. Ugh. Yeesh. Let me do one more quick remesh here. I just want to see what the default looks like without any poly loops there, or group loops. Keep groups. Blah blah blah. Ugh. Oh boy. Alright, let's just work this shape a little bit in Dynamesh. It's getting there, it's getting there. I'm just kind of going through here with some trim, some pinch, help plane out some of these edges, a little bit of clay tubes to fill in some of the volumes here. Work on this area a bit more. It's really tight in here, so it's kind of hard to get in here and clean up that form. Do the best I can though. A little lumpy, but it's definitely cleaning up a lot nicer than before. And I would love to slice this up and use that lower poly version, but Zremesher was not playing nice. We could try using the Zremesher guides brush, which is also kind of another way to do that. I've found that the results are pretty similar with it though. I mean, we can try it really quick here. Zremesher guides. Essentially, this just works exactly like a curve brush. You draw out, or if you've ever used the what is the retopo brush called? I think it's just called the Topology Brush. If you've ever played around with that, pretty similar. So essentially Zremesher will look at these curves and say, oh, that's what you wanted me to do. You want an edge loop there. Well, no. Sometimes it'll do it. Sometimes it'll laugh in your face. Why? Why can I not connect these? That was a little painful. Okay, so now when I press Zremesher, it will look at this information and hopefully help us out. I'll also draw like a really quick line down some of these. See if that helps. Let's just do a little bit of a higher poly count, 1K, just to see what it does first. See if it even gives us something remotely workable. If it's not even close, I might try one more time. This is just to kind of show this off really quick and test it out. I have a feeling it's not going to be super great though. It does look better than what we were getting from our poly groups though. Still not great. You got this big old star right there. I think the resolution of the curve here I don't know if this like screwed up or what. Let's see. See how this goes? Like I said, hands are, oh gosh, what's going on over here? Hands are a lot of work, especially when you're working on creating some specific styled hands like what we're doing. Alright, I'm not super thrilled about the results that we're getting here. I think I'll probably just leave it in Dynamesh and possibly return to it later if I need to. I might just keep it in Dynamesh the whole time. It's not really, you know, terrible to keep it in Dynamesh. I just find it easier to clean shapes up with subdivision levels. I typically might start blocking something out with Dynamesh, kind of like what I'm doing here, and then swap on over to Topology with Subdivs. That's not too bad. So maybe I could subdivide and project that. So now we do have some subdivs. The topology isn't amazing, but at least that's kind of like something that's workable, just to kind of get it, get us headed in the right direction here. But there we go. That's I want to get this finger a lot better so that I can duplicate it and reuse it for the other fingers. I spent some time kind of just lining up these to make sure that we could get the proper shape and pose that we're seeing here. I think the hand needs to be a little wider in this direction, in the Z there. Maybe not. Maybe just a little bit thicker around this area. Something there. Can work on getting a little bit more of that curve as well. And then scale-wise, our hands are definitely a little bit too small. So let's hop into Zremesh. Hands and heads, they always end up too small. Happens every time. That's why I try to make them a little bit bigger. And when I make them a little bit bigger than I think they should be, they end up being the correct size. I don't know how that works, but it pretty much always does. Alright, so let's get local sim floater. So the reason I'm turning on local symmetry... Oh, you know what? Never mind, I can't do that. So the way local symmetry works is it looks at the object that the specific subtool that you have selected. So let's say I have this over on the other side of the mesh, and I try scaling up my hands. It will pull them away or towards the x-axis depending on how you're scaling, if you're scaling up or down. So if you turn on local symmetry, it will look at both of those and it will scale locally on that object, up or down, which is what we want. But because this is all one subtool in Transpose Master, the pivot point for my local symmetry is off. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's not directly in the middle, which is where I want it to be. Because of the shape of the hair being different and some of the other geometry being asymmetrical, it will actually throw off the position of these hands, and they will no longer be symmetrical. And I want that to be the case. So let me scale these up together. And I don't have the other hand over here. It really doesn't matter. Or at least it shouldn't matter. Let's see. It's not like those fingers would be difficult to realign. I just want to save myself some extra time later. A little bit bigger maybe. Might be a little bit too big. Actually, I think scale-wise this is probably okay. If anything, I would just shorten the length of my actual palm, which feels a little bit long to me. But a good way to test, you know, I could line up the image with what I'm sculpting, or I could, you know, see how big it is compared to the face and check it over here. That looks pretty good to me though, so I'm just gonna leave that. And we'll head on back. Yeah, those hands were definitely way too tiny. So next I think I'll shorten the length of that palm. And then, oh no, what happened? Vertex mismatch on the hand. That's not good. Still running through the subtools. It actually doesn't need to. Didn't make any changes to all that. Alright, I might be able to trick Transpose Master really quick. Delete hidden. Let me see if this works. I actually don't know if this will work or not. It might cause ZBrush to crash, which I don't want. Vertex count mismatch. Oh, it did that once for the head. I understand. Ooh, did you guys see that? Oh no. Alright. So let's do a quick save. If your mesh explodes, one of the worst things that you can do is very quick. A lot of the time can cause ZBrush to crash. Looks like it's working though, so we're good here, I think. So it's kind of an error that used to happen a lot more to me back when I was getting started in ZBrush, and it was a little bit easier to do in some of the older versions of ZBrush with Dynameshes. It doesn't really happen too much anymore, but when Dynameshing, sometimes your geometry just explodes, similarly to what we just saw. Like I said, it doesn't happen quite as often as it used to. It's not really a problem I have too often anymore. But if that does happen to you, don't click Control-Z immediately. Do a quick save, maybe save out the file just to make sure you have everything, and then undo it. Because I have found in the past that ZBrush will just crash whenever that happens if you try to undo that very quickly. Or it gets confused, or I say it gets confused because that's what it seems like. It just kind of freaks out and says, nope, I'm out of here, goodbye. Alright. Scale that up to about where I had it. And then let me shorten the length of this poem as well. Well, that was fun. So if you're going into Transpose Master, make sure you don't have anything hidden on any of your meshes before you go through and make any huge changes. If you're going to be spending a long time posing in Transpose Master, I recommend going over to T-pose and then T-posing immediately back, just to make sure that you don't have any geometry hidden. It's just a quick way to save yourself a huge headache later. This isn't so bad because it's just one thing that I was scaling up, but if I was like posing an entire character and, you know, bending a lot of joints, and I spent, you know, a few hours doing that, and then I clicked on that T-pose button like I just did, and it was like, vertex count mismatch. Goodbye. Like, that would not be fun. And I have had that happen before. It is not fun. So just, you know, make sure you got everything visible there. Why is this polypaint on? Alright. Now we got some subdivs. Makes it easier to scale up our hand since we're moving less polygons. Let's just let's grab this whole thing. A little bit of a pull in. Kind of sounds like Stranger Things a little bit. Reminds me of that. All right, I think that's looking a lot better. Obviously, we still need some more work there, but I think that's going to be a good place for us to hit pause on this character for today. I want to remind you guys that I won't be streaming for the next couple days, but I will be back on Saturday. We are doing critiques on Saturday, live critiques here on stream, and if you want to get your work critiqued on stream, it's really easy. All you have to do is email me. There are the instructions for where you can email me. Send me a Z tool, so tool save as, include your Twitch username, and just include some information about the file. I believe it was it Francisco? Yes, Francisco was asking about his planar head. He has a planar head that we're going to be looking at, and I think I have one other character that somebody sent in that we'll be looking at as well. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, though. The only other thing we'll do here before we leave for the day... and I'm sorry, again, that's at noon Eastern U.S. time on Saturday, if I did not mention the time. If you guys want to check out some of my stuff, you can just Google Follygon. You'll find all of it. There's links below. Stuff for my Gumroad, some courses, brushes, materials. I'll mention again, if you own my brushes already, there's a free upgrade that includes 6 new brushes that you guys can check out. Other than that, gumroad.com/Follygon. I'd appreciate it if you gave it a look-see. And let's see here. And just in time for a spam phone call. All right. I'm trying to find somebody to shoot a raid here at the end. But let me make sure we don't have any last minute questions. Sneeman, hey man. Hey man, Sneeman. I feel like a lot of art streamers are non-English. Seeing a lot of Russian going on. Ooh, here we go. Perfect. Somebody's streaming some ZBrush. Nobody ever streams ZBrush. Alright, again, I'll see you guys hopefully on Saturday, noon EST, doing some live critiques. It'll be a lot of fun. And with all that, you guys have a great rest of your day, and peace out.